First and foremost, I want to thank you so much. You have the pleasure of speaking with you today. As I mentioned, I have been following you since you showcased multimedia artist named Miles Regis, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Miles Regis.
His family. We love him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been following him, and I just want to thank you for. I really appreciate you and just having the ability to sort of provide a new lens for us to look at the work of contemporary artists and really appreciate it. I myself, with an art background, didn't really fully appreciate contemporary art until I started looking at just, a lot of the pictures that you have up. Two questions that I have for you that come to mind right away is, number one, where do you find these artists? Like, do they send you like a list of, hey, check out these people, and then you research them and look them up?
I mean, it's like whatever list you could make of places you think, I will just hit all of the above.
Oh.
Because I see Peter there. Hi, Peter. So he'll be knowing this too. You and Shantae. Hi, Shantae. So also
you got all the love in the room right now.
There is a whole press release world of galleries and independent publicists like Carolyn, who know who the writers are and make sure that they give the information to us. But of course, we can't stop there, even though that's the most consistent thorough is being on good press lists, right? So, I'm constantly, like, every time I go to a gallery, I sign for their mailing list.
Oh, got it.
And, like every art related thing in the world that gives me the option of signing up for a mailing list, I do. And that just murders my inbox.
Oh, man,
like at a level. But honestly, it's also kind of great because I get that from Los Angeles, and there's like I get, maybe half a dozen things a month from Berlin.
Wow.
And maybe 15 things a month from London galleries and museums, because I'm signing up on all the websites. So I'm also, because not only am I curious, but also I'm like, oh, that LA artist that I love is showing with this Berlin gallery. Oh, that's an interesting thing to know that maybe I wouldn't have known because their LA gallery might not tell me, and they might not have a press list, but I'm on that. So you kind of have to just cast the widest net.
Yeah.
And that's just your inbox. The rest of it, of course, is like you go to art walks and open studio tours in buildings and arts complexes, and every fifth person you meet says, oh, I know this artist, they're amazing. And that's but a lot of the times that's exactly, even Miles is a perfect example. Like, we've become really close friends, and him and my boyfriend are like, I joke that they're in a boy band because they're so tight. They're like besties, and they're just both so cute, and I just love them together. And there's all these pictures of the three of us, and it's hilarious. But I met him I've met him in so many different ways, but the thing I remember specifically was I met him through Liz Gordon, but before the show that he did with Liz.
Oh,
because she's the kind of person that's friends with everyone that she works with. From between them deciding to work together and the show happening, he was like at a barbecue at her house or something. And it was like, oh, you're Miles, you're amazing. So you meet different, and then he's got a friend who was this incredible photographer who was living back and forth between here and Senegal. And then that's because of Miles, I'm aware of photography. And so you just kind of meet people organically, even while there's all this professional activity happening.
So let me ask you this.
Running into folks,
So you're meeting all these people, you're becoming aware of all this incredible talent. Now, as far as the art curation, is that correct? Goes, do you pick a venue, or do you go to, like, say for example, LACMA, and say, hey, LACMA, I've got Miles, I've got all these great people, we should showcase them? Is that how it works? How does it work?
think that's how it works at LACMA, if I had to guess. Although I've never tried, so I wouldn't, whatever. You can't win if you don't play. My curatorial activities are sort of more reactive. Like I almost never am the one that initiates it. It's almost always venue, which is almost always a commercial gallery or a nonprofit gallery, coming to me and saying, jury this show, put a show together, work with us on this solo show to give it some form, be on the committee that reviews all submissions. So each thing's a little different, but it's almost like 100% somebody coming to me with wanting what. It's really, really hard. It's so much harder. And the better you are at it, the easier it looks like it was. Yeah. And so it's just like, I have to, every time somebody asks me, I have to think like, can I handle this emotionally right now?
Yeah, yeah. And you're, I mean, you're doing the curating of events, but you're also critiquing. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, never the same one, obviously.
Okay.
Most of what I do is the writing, although if you want to expand the sort of curating angle, the series that I do at the weekly, the Meet an Artist Monday, I definitely populate that. I try to have it correspond with the person having a show up locally or a book that just came out or something like that.
Okay.
But not always. Now it's going to be a little different because it shows up locally.
Right.
But those I really try to pick, and I keep in mind, I make sure that there's enough women and people of color, and that there's diversity in the medium, from landscape painting to AI or whatever.
Right.
And I keep it, I'm up to like 78 or 79 of them now. We have every month since I started. Really try to always think of the project as a kind of whole. So it's like a slow motion curatorial mindset, which is a little different than, say, if I'm going to critique an exhibition or a project or something.
Let me ask you, for an artist, I'm not a fine artist, but I think I still need to be able to talk well about my work. But as an artist, what is the importance of being able to not just critique your work, but also to critique others' work, especially when you're a college art student?
15 years ago, I did a writing shop. It might even have been longer than 15 years. Like, how long? It was like 2000. Oh my God. Okay. At Santa Fe Art Institute with the New Yorker art critic Peter Sheldall. And a lot went wrong, but some of the things that went well involved a couple of really beautiful little pieces of wisdom that he dropped and that I have retained. And one of them is, people always ask him, like, art is subjective. How can you tell or even state with any authority if something's good or whatever?
Right.
On taste. And his answer to that was, asks himself, this is his quote, if the artist knows what the viewer is seeing.
Wow.
And that is so fucking deep, because it goes to, like, as an artist, your own ability to transcend the urgency of your intention and to be able to know whether someone is going to be able to see, want them to see in the work.
And they can
doesn't have to be a totality, because there's always all this amazing, amorphous space for people to have their own experiences. To say, like, his example was, if you insist on making the sky, red and the ocean purple, and that it represents a very specific metaphor in your life, does the viewer have a chance in hell of accessing it?
Right.
Or not? And if not, is that okay? Are you still giving them the emotion that you want them to have, at least, even if they can't decode the image for themselves? Yeah. So some ability to turn it around and go, yeah, that says what I wanted it to say.
So that's,
and then
kind
after
of
that, move on to, is your intent, did you have, but I think, like, that's a basic, like, successful were you in meeting the goals you set for yourself.
For yourself.
And then after that, we can talk about like what it does out here, but like get it right with yourself. And so I think, though it's horribly painful, being forced to defend your intentions in a critique situation is useful for that.
Okay. It reminds me of a quote that I just recently read. I think it was Edgar Degas. Art is not about what you see, but about what you make others see.
Exactly.
So you have to.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yes. Yeah. So in essence, it's like you need to know your audience and know what it is that they want. And that's really scary, you know, because it requires research. It requires that you really dig deep inside and figure out, okay, what message, like, why am I doing this painting? You know, what's the message behind it? You know, and I think that's where a lot of us as artists, sometimes we fail because we just want to create a pretty drawing and we're not thinking about, oh snap, in 10 minutes, I have to give a critique and this has to mean something.
Right, or you know what, it doesn't. I mean, in other words, if it soothes your soul and it gets your expressivity out, I mean, make the work, like do what you need to do.
For sure.
But when it comes time to take it to the town square, that you're going to be navigating these other forces.
Okay.
And there are some artists who are like, fuck it, it's for me. Like, if you don't get it, like,
that's your business.
That's the door. And you know what? That's fine. Just, you have to own that. That's all. You just have to own every choice you make.
Okay.
That's a yardstick that I feel good about applying when I'm saying something is definitely good or definitely terrible or whatever.
Okay.
It goes beyond my personal taste.
Right. It goes beyond that.
For example, I don't like Impressionism. What? Oh my God, I'm going to freak out. How do you not like Impressionism? Well, I don't enjoy most of it. Sitting in front of it, it gives me like angst and it like irritates me. But if you look at what a lot of the Impressionist painters were up to, I don't even think they'd be mad. They'd be like, yeah, we're trying to irritate you. We're trying to figure out that modernity is going to be different and shit looks different and the world feels different, and so painting's going to look this unsettled way. They're like, yeah, good. That was, you know, a lot of it, even though we now associate it with sort of prettiness, a lot of it was not about pretty.
It's not about that.
So liking something and knowing that it's important don't always have to be the same, and I try to keep that in mind as well.
Okay. I want to quickly switch gears now.
Yeah, let's talk about what the hell is going on.
I want to first talk about this. Hold on, let me close this. I want to talk about this first.
Oh my God, my book.
Okay.
That surprised you guys. I thought we were here to talk about the art business.
Yes, no, we are, but this is part of it. Okay, so let's jump right into the question that I have for you. So you spend, I don't know how many years you spent working on this book, but so you spend all this time writing articles and magazines and, you know, all this other stuff for other people. You finally get started on your own book, Zen Psychosis, which I just started reading, by the way. And, you know, I am looking at these photos and I'm thinking, okay, wow, she's doing it. She's doing readings, book signings, and then we all get introduced to Corona. How has this affected you as an author?
Well, one thing, and before I say, you know, I won't go into too much detail because a lot of it's obvious. It's like all the ways it sucks.
Yeah.
Right. But I will say, and, you know, Osceola, whose photographs are in the book, is having, you know, his own version of this. It's given me a lot of empathy for what artists, especially independent artists, are out there facing right now. Right. Because this is, you know, it's like the telescope kind of flipped. And so because of the challenges facing rolling out the book, I've had a lot of firsthand insight into what a lot of community is going through themselves. You've had, you know, everyone that had a big summer show canceled, the show that opened March 7th and we were all going to go next weekend. Well, that was the 5 days, right? Or a show that was, you know, a lot of big summer shows and exciting things. And, you know, if you're an artist and you've been painting for 2 years or something, I think my experience with the book it just really makes me understand
Yeah.
a very individual trauma of having a rug pulled out from under you that way, as an artist or a small gallery. So yeah, so like everyone, I'm just kind of figuring out how to still make it happen.
Yeah.
I've got some lucky things. For example, the A.G. Geiger bookstore, which remains open for internet orders, is
Nice.
literally 400 feet from my boyfriend's studio in Chinatown.
Oh man.
So you've been seeing boxes of signed copies over and putting them down, and they're
That's
backing
awesome.
like downstairs,
Come get it.
It's not, and then he's able to fulfill mail orders. So, I mean, that right there is such a gift to even have that much of an outlet in my family to be able to do that. A lot of people don't even have that. So, yeah, it makes me to trying to help people get it back together.
Get it back together. You know, it's interesting because you opened by saying, you know, you're not going to spend a lot of detail talking about the obvious, because I think for many of us, the obvious is, yeah, you know, we lost a lot of opportunities. But for some people, they actually, all of this has actually created new opportunities for them and how they do business. Has it in any way changed how you do business?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that, okay, so I'll give the really super short answer and then the cool answer. That's what I emailed you. Short answer, how I do business, not really. I write somebody, if I'm lucky, they PayPal me soon. I mean,
and you're at home anyway.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of times if I'm working on a project for an artist in New York, I was never gonna come to the studio anyway. So it's not 100% shake up in my little, but in my choices of what to write about, I have had to, and in the whole art critic world continues to wrestle with this right now. It's part of phase 1 and 2, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
If I'm going to write about your show without seeing it, that. I mean, it's one thing to be writing a catalog essay where you're getting videos and you know the artist and maybe you've seen their work in person before, and you can have hours of conversation with them and high-res photographs and process shots, and you can get an essay together that clarifies their intentions. But if I'm going to stand there and say this work is good or not good without even seeing it in person, I feel that is not okay. But that screws everybody. So then that's not helpful either. So I'm still really in the middle of figuring that out. In the meantime, I have been more engaged with video art, performance art, because 95% of the time you're experiencing it in documentation anyway.
Yeah.
Any kind of animation or internet-based art, any kind of thing like that already exists on a digital platform. So that I'm basically seeing, maybe it's a little smaller, my laptop is smaller than your monitor.
Right.
But
you're still getting it.
Especially if it's something that is optimized as an internet project, I'm seeing it in its native environment on the internet.
Now seeing...
Now I've been focusing on that because I feel very confident in being able to evaluate the quality of it without compromise. We will have to see what happens as this goes on.
What are your thoughts on what some of the museums are doing now in terms of the virtual art gallery experience, where you can, you know, I mean, you just sort of touched on the subject, you know, it's not the same thing just looking at it online versus actually being there.
Well, I mean, I think one thing that's kind of interesting that's happened is it has made regionalism a little bit obsolete. So like the art is not in LA or in Stockholm. The art's on your computer.
Yeah, it's on your laptop.
So equalizing first in that way. So the idea of suddenly being like, oh, I wonder, you know, what the stag looks like after the renovation, whatever, I just made that up. But modern musitas, you know, cafe. Yeah, you can go, and now you might be more inclined to do that because you don't have access to your own physical venues and resources as much. My favorite are actually the ones that involve the audience, like that Getty.
Oh yeah.
Thing is maybe the best single
Okay.
response by an institution that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
Show off how smart and funny you are. You don't have to be an artist to do it. You're looking at like old, like 17th century paintings of spotted horses from the Getty collection. Like, you give a shit about that,
I
and
know.
suddenly you totally do, and it's amazing. So I feel like things like that really get people to like not just passively check out the cool shit, but to like dig deep and engage with it and succeed in such spectacular manner. So that's got to be my single favorite.
Okay, yeah. I want to ask you another question. Since you deal with so many artists, what has been your experience just in terms of, do you feel like these artists are business savvy? And what is the importance of an artist knowing the business of art, if that makes sense?
Well, it does make sense. I think that, okay, so this was my three-phase answer that I sent you before. So phase one, when this happened, which is kind of over now, was, oh my God, how do I get everything I was going to do in the next 2 weeks online immediately?
Right.
Oh my God, how do I just shove it all on the internet now and make sure people know it's on the internet now? And then everybody kind of did that.
So we're there now.
Yeah. And phase two that already started, but we're still in it, is artists and then institutions too, figuring out what they're going to do now. Not what their art's about, but literally, if your studio was not in your house, how are you going to make art? Where are you getting your supplies? What's your logistical situation continuing to work? If you're an institution, what now you've got the current show up, what are you going to do next? Are you going to program differently? The media mediation in mind? Are you going to focus on tech to do what you were going to do already, but prettier? Like, what literally logistically is your capability to continue to have a platform? And later, find out what the art and literature being made about this moment is. I appreciate a few people rushing in to chronicle the experience, but it's been a month. We don't know.
It's been a month.
Experience is yet.
Right.
So that's coming. And all the curators and writers in the world are going to have to deal with, like, I wonder what the theme of the next Whitney Biennial is going to be. Solitude?
Yeah.
You know, whatever, right? So coming in due time.
Okay.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Phase 2 into 3 is where the business question comes into play. Because it was always important for artists to have at least an understanding of how the business worked, so that they could know if they were getting a good deal,
right,
advantage of, what their rights were if their images were being licensed, all of those things. Now, you still have that, but even a lot of those galleries and agencies are going to be in trouble.
Why?
So that stuff about being an independent artist and putting yourself out there, it was already there, but now I think it's going to be an imperative. And so before it was maybe something more like a good plan B.
Yeah, I'll get to it one day.
Yeah, like, oh, I should probably get on that, but I have my gallery and they're kind of dealing with it or whatever. But now it's kind of going to be everybody really having to be their own advocate. And that, I think, I mean, is it good or bad? I don't know yet. It's hard, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to become more important than ever, because like so many institutional systems that we have come to rely on, take for granted as they hum along in the background, the gallery system is experiencing seismic change.
Wow.
It already was. And the art fairs. Okay, so like until 2 months ago, everybody was like, I hate art fairs. They're the stupidest thing. Busy and fancy and nobody can afford anything. And it's all just like the society pages and it sucks all the oxygen out of the room and screw art. Okay, well, be careful what you wish for because their imminent collapse of the art fair system is going to have unpredictable effects in the gallery system.
Yeah.
It might save some people a lot of money. It might cost some people a lot of sales. And we don't know where that sort of waterbed motion is going to come to rest yet. We don't know. So in the meantime, I would say all artists should mostly immediately switch gears from looking for a gallery to opening a storefront, even if it's virtual. Because
that's great.
Can't wait right now. Like maybe you could play that game still before, even though it was already kind of, but the whole game might be gone.
Oh yeah.
We don't know, so don't waste any time.
So really, I mean, they really need to have a sense of urgency with respect to pricing their work, finding their market, putting it up online, really marketing themselves. I mean, like you said, this whole thing has forced everybody's hand, and sort of make you reflect and ask yourself, like, how badly do I really want this thing? You know what I mean? Because now, okay, you love to paint, you want to make some money. Now you need to figure out how to do it on your own.
Right. So there's a lot of really interesting things. Like, for example, I was speaking with an artist yesterday who's a ceramicist, and obviously the kiln. So she's been working in watercolor just because like that's what's around. So I think that there is watercolors that's maybe an example, but like to say watercolor drawings are easier to sell than giant ceramic.
Right.
For a painter, look into what printmaking might be like, or look into something. If your own central practice doesn't do well on Instagram,
right,
out something you could do that would still be satisfying as an artist. I'm not saying sell yourself out.
Yeah.
But poke around yourself a little bit. If there's a place of something that's a little bit affordable, accessible, or easier to sell virtually, whether that's something that might still give you some of the satisfaction from your practice, and if so, that's a little something you can do while we figure this out.
That's fantastic advice for artists. I didn't want to leave out the writers. I had a question that I wanted to direct specifically to the writers of the group. What do you think is a good approach for them? Like, what are some of the things that they can do to sort of help create some opportunities for themselves?
Well, this is what I'll say, because it was already always, a hard, like a really
it's already tough,
sketchy way to make a living to begin with, under the best of circumstances. Sorry, but I think that there's something about this situation with the pandemic that will increase the demand and appreciation for the lost art of the personal essay, or something that is a more poetic sort of reportage. We're entering a phase where now we're going to want the story of this, the stories of this. So I think what could be good for a talented writer with an affinity for the essay format is you don't have to search or rack your brain for a catchy topic.
Yeah.
We have a topic, subject, and so that kind of switches that around, where now we're all going to be interested in one subject, and a billion personal perspectives on that subject are going to be required and expected. And I feel like right now we're in a very like news heavy phase because the shit is still starting. Like don't, right? But it's already happening that we're needing the human
element. Yeah.
And as we go forward, we're going to need that contextualization and that search for meaning and that human experience stuff more and more and more and more. I feel that that's a place that writers, especially our storyteller kind of writers, will have a real opportunity. Actually, it's going to be a demand for those voices.
Wow.
Which I think, could be amazing.
Okay.
So I feel like that's the thing. I don't know if it's like a silver lining or what.
Yeah.
But
it is.
That is already happening, and I think it's going to keep happening.
No, I mean, I agree with you 100%, and as I said, when I opened, I'm an animator, I'm an artist. I love drawing and cartoons. And here I am, doing a Zoom meeting, documenting what is happening right now, because for the same reason, number one, it's one of those situations where I've always wanted to do this type of stuff. I have a workshop that I wanted to do as a webinar. I was like, I've never spoken to anybody on the computer other than FaceTime, so this was a really good way to sort of test the waters. And I think whether you're a writer or a painter or a musician or whatever, this really is a good time to sort of dabble in something that you maybe wanted to try out, because we have the time for one, but number two, there are a lot of resources that are out there for us, I think.
I agree. And I mean, and it's not even that thing where it's like you have all the time. Somebody sent me a really hilarious op-ed from The Guardian that the title of the op, "You, Stephen Fry, I'm not learning calligraphy." Right? Because it's like all these people that are like, you can you can do this, and you're like,
no, I'm not.
Trying to keep it like together. Like, what do you even, what? So I really appreciated that. And that's kind of what I mean, actually, because as soon as a brave souls started pushing back against the like, you can be superhumanly productive in your PJs vibe. Well, I was like, oh, there's other people that feel that way. How do I know that? They wrote it, and somebody, and so the writers are going to be so crucial in like reminding us all of our common humanity, especially at the places where we might be falling down a little. And so I do think that so it might not be like, I'm not saying like learn a new ukulele, but I am saying that poke around and see if there are other aspects of what you already do that might be better suited to what's happening, and maybe put some time in there for now and see what happens.
Okay, no, that makes sense. We have,
if it matches the time better.
Yeah.
Nothing is 100%. It's my honest belief that if your art is more in tune with the zeitgeist, you will have a better chance at actually like material success as well, right?
Yeah, that's true.
For me, I wouldn't be the person that would push back and insist on doing everything I still do to hold the line.
Right.
I understand that some people might feel that way and be like, God knows, do whatever you want.
Right.
I do feel like if as to something that could rise or shift to meet the moment, that will serve you. Okay.
No, that makes sense. We have a couple of minutes left, and I absolutely want to open the floor to anybody who has a question.
There's amazing, smart people in this chat.
I'd love to hear from some of you, and I think there is a way for you to raise your hand. And then once you do that, I can see you and unmute your mic.
Oh yeah, there's like a little hand emoji or something.
Yeah.
I don't think it shows up though.
Well, there you go.
Where's that little hand?
It's okay, but we can hear you now. So you have the floor.
This one, let me see. I just a shout out. I just bought it, Shana.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, thank you. I love you.
They're signed copies, right?
Yes, they are.
Great. All right. Thank you. Congratulations on, it was a Pen America that you applied for. Good.
Yeah.
And they're really, I'm in the same boat. My book came out, got on the LA Times bestseller list, and then it went.
Oh, man.
It hurts.
Wow. We should connect, Carolyn. I would like to talk with you.
Okay. But, you know, time, switch gears, entrepreneur time. And
Yeah.
so I got a grant from the city of West Hollywood to make a performance piece out of my book.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
I've decided to hook up with a middle school, 11 to 14-year-olds, and they're going to perform all the roles in the book.
Wow.
So we're all Zooming. Yeah, Bancroft Middle
What's-
School down on Las Palmas, and the teacher is really gung-ho on it. So we're also filming the process. So looking at maybe as a documentary about how you do creative stuff.
What's the name of the book?
City of Immortals, Paralyzed, Paris.
Where can people find it? What website?
Okay. Yeah, Amazon. And it's also Golf Books, GOFF, support an independent publisher.
Okay.
And so it's famous people. Oscar Wilde is buried there, Marcel Proust. And so all 11 to 14-year-olds are going to play Edith Piaf. And wow. And they're really jazzed because it's kind of, they're all kind of goth kids, and they love the idea of being in a cemetery. So,
Jim Morrison.
well, I mean, they're the guy Matthew Kennedy, who's the teacher, their theater production teacher, he's going to cast it. I wouldn't dare step into his.
That's a coveted role of Jim Morrison.
Oh, yeah.
Which reminds me real quickly, Shana, can you tell us where can people find Zen Psychosis?
Oh yeah. So, well, we had a thing where we were selling copies at our events because we were signing them. But now if you go to A.G. Geiger Fine Art Books / Zen Psychosis or whatever, but he has a landing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Homepage. That's where you can get them.
Okay.
Free delivery.
And that's the place to go because otherwise it's kind of like you could PayPal me and I could mail it to you.
Okay.
It's unclear. I mean, I could definitely do that, but it's so much nicer to get it from a bookstore.
Oh, okay. And then do you want to, here, let me just, oh, we have another comment?
Yes, I just wanted to suggest that that H.B. Geiger be spelled out, because it's an unusual spelling.
Oh yeah, so it's the letter A, the letter G, and then Geiger, Geiger.
A.G. Geiger. Okay. We have about 2 more minutes. Does anybody have any other questions or comments they would love to chime in? Now's the time to do it. We'd love to hear from you.
I do. I'm Shantae. Thank you so much for everything. So I'm wondering from you and even others in the group, what practical things would you suggest for, let's say, freelance writers? So I'm at the point where I'm just taking a chill pill for a while so that I can emotionally recover from all that is right. I filed for unemployment because I'm losing clients, and I'm just like, it's just too much to be trying to be productive right now.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to be my forever. So I'm wondering what sort of things would you suggest for freelancers looking to, anything you have.
Well, I would say the most important thing is to keep a journal, because if and when a story presents itself, you're going to want to be able to go back and trace its evolution. And, you think it's like it's happening, so you're going to remember how you felt. But if you're anything like me, 18 different ways before lunch.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're crying, and then a bird is singing, and then you're crying, but now it's happy tears, and then you're like, oh my God. So I think like not only every person should probably be doing that, but I think for a writer, it's going to be really important to have a really in-depth record of experiences and your thoughts of this time, because chances are you're going to wind up writing at least one big think piece about it. And so that would be the main thing. But as far as, I mean, normally I would give a totally different set of advice as far as pitching and everything, but I have no idea. Like some places, like there's no more freelancers, it's all the staff writers for now. Some places it's like they fired almost all the staff and they're only using freelancers.
Wow.
And some, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's different.
They're using everybody, but you're not going to get paid till August. And some places are just like, they were never paid because they were literary, but they are beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, pitching that you're already doing for the most part is still, you know, worth doing. But I would just say, like, there's the idea of trying to come up with a unique angle on a story. And then there's the idea of a personal angle on a story, which is probably also unique, but which will definitely be more powerful. I'm things that merge the two, like here's, you know, like an informational situation, and here's some writerly musings on the topic. Whatever best matches your style. But I think about, you know, Alexander Pope during the famine, and I think about other times that writers have had to kind of change things up a little bit to be on the pulse, and I think that's okay. We can all do that. But I would say, like, mindfulness to really observing your own experience, probably the single tool that a writer employ, especially right now while everything is so fluid, to really keep an eye on what's going on and make records of it. So when it comes time to sit down and decide what you really think,
you got it.
You have it all ready for you.
We have one more question. Let me unmute her mic.
Thank you so much.
Are you there? Uh-oh, where'd she go? Oh,
Yes.
There you go. You have the floor.
I raised my hand. Hi.
There you go.
Hi, Shana. I just want to say that how much I really appreciated a few of the topics, issues you were talking specifically with the artist market, so forth. But although it seems the impact is very situational, but it is generally presenting a reality or some different perspectives. It's so surreal and makes you think of many other aspects of even the purpose of art making. It's such a quick shift, although you mentioned that artists being empowered, taking position has been going on for a long time, both historically speaking and, you know, during this particular circumstances. But it also makes you think of the purpose of why are we making art?
Well, art and writing, all of it. Like, do we do it to comment? Do we do it to unflinchingly chronicle the tough things? Do we do it to provide an escape into another place of beauty where there's no pain? Do we do it ourselves? Do we do it for each other? Do it for the future? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
All these positions, and it would be great that these conversations will continue. Would be maybe a chat room that people, because I'm very intimidated ordinarily to even say a word, but having sit here in my comfort of my home and just listening, I'm feeling so inspired that doesn't matter, regardless of my accent or being so spacey, I'm going to say something because these are very important times, and it is happening, it's so impacting, and it's so monumental. How could we stay quiet and not interact? Almost you're forced by being isolated, interact more and pay more attention to the depth of the meaning of what does it really mean? What does that intimacy or that content means today?
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, that was really beautiful, Fatima. I think that's right. Like, and that's where, like, I hate it when everyone's like, it's an opportunity for growth. It's like, come over here and say that.
Yeah, you know, it's also, you have to ask yourself first, how are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, mentally, how are you doing? And you need to check yourself first before you start looking at tutorials and, oh, I'm gonna start becoming a painter now. I'm gonna start this new thing. Like, how are you feeling? You know, check with your emotions, check with yourself, make sure you're healthy. Are you exercising? Are you eating well? You're not gonna be able to do any of this stuff if you're not okay first, you know? I hate to cut this short. We went a little over our time, but I want to thank sincerely everybody, first of all, for being a part of this. I think I'm not a contemporary artist, but the advice that you gave just in general, I think works for so many different industries. I feel incredibly inspired right now, and I hope that everybody in this room feels they've gathered just as much value as I have from speaking with you, you know, for sharing your expertise, your knowledge with us. I'll put it up one last time, your Facebook and LinkedIn.
Shana Niece everywhere.
Shana Niece everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I have another meeting happening in like 5 minutes, but I want to thank.
Hustle.
Yeah. You know, this is all about getting that inspiration. Like Fatima, is that how you pronounce it? Fatima. It's all about getting into these conversations, you know, because you get out of it feeling a little bit more empowered each time. You know, so I want to thank you again, Shana, for sharing this time with us. You could have been doing anything else today, but you chose to do it here with us. So thank you so much.
I love you for asking. Anything you need, anytime. And thank you all for spending your time with us today.
Thank you. I will have a recording of this, and I'll send you a post so that you can review it. Awesome. Okay, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Stay blessed.